That vaccine showed up for 12 weekends in a row, vaccinating the communities of color, along with the staff of the Native Project. And after my children, my grandchildren, and creating the Native Project, those COVAX clinics are the thing I am the most proud of in my whole life. We vaccinated 10,000. We did 10,000 vaccines. We saved people's lives, straight up, saved people's lives. And that was on top of everything else people like Sandy did, you know, little editing of a newspaper, building a building, you know, doing COVAX clinics on the weekend, going to police accountability meetings. Sandy was right there making it happen. I feel like we really practice matriarchy. As women of color, we loved and nurtured and took care of our families and our children and our communities, which is the highest calling that I know of. People have told me that, and actually at the police accountability meeting, she said this, the two oldest living community activists in Spokane were me and her, and that she wanted to be me when she grew up. And I was like, why? I don't even want to be me when I grow up. But she wanted the Carl Maxey Center to be like Native Project. And what an honor. What an honor that I got to be part of that mentoring for her. And, you know, talking about the two of the last activists, there's many more. I'm like, what should we call our group? We'll call it the truth-telling matriarchs of color who love to build buildings and get stuff done. Very small support group now, but what I love about here today, and my friend Cece, my daughter Dylan, other people, you know, our support group was shrinking, but we need all of you young people to carry this work on. And there is much love from the Native community for my sister Sandy, and much love to my young friend here, Cece, and my daughter Dylan, and they will carry on for us. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Amos Atkinson, Jr. I am the program coordinator at the Carl Maxey Center. Also, I am the assistant pastor at Calvary Baptist Church. I've been asked to bring a word of prayer. Amen? So let us go to the throne of grace. Father, we come to you this evening, first of all, to say thank you. Then, Father, we come to give you the praise, the glory, and the honor. Father, first of all, we ask that you touch the family of those who have lost their loved ones. We ask right now that you put your arms of love and hedge of protection around them and continue to keep them in perfect peace. And then, Father, we ask that you touch our community. We ask right now that you continue to touch, bless us, and let us understand the reasoning. Because, Father, you said in your word in Psalms that weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. So, Father, right now we are asking for that joy. We are asking for that peace. We are asking for that understanding. Father, we are asking that we come together as a community and continue to celebrate the life of Sandy, that we continue to uphold her legacy. And then, Father, we ask that you touch the Williams family right now, that you keep them in perfect peace, that you put your arms around them, and that you just continue to love. So, Father, right now, we just want to say thank you for all that you're doing. We ask that you just continue to bless this event this evening, the celebration of Sandy, that you bless the music that's coming forth. Bless all the words that are coming forth. But more importantly, Father, when it's all said and done, that we give you the glory, the praise, and the honor. And can we all just say amen, amen, and amen.
Are y'all ready? Are you ready? We have something beautiful in store for you this evening. Grandma Willie, this is especially dedicated to you. We know that in the Black community, there is nothing that we love more than God. And so it was important for us that we had a representation of gospel music here tonight. And so I'd like to welcome to the stage Latrice Williams and the community choir that came together just for Sandy. So please clap your hands as they come to the stage.
Oh, it's beautiful here. Looking for my glasses, but I don't even think I need them anymore.
Sandy!
Oh, I can't wait for my mom to see this.
Sandy!
Oh, oh, Sandy. I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it.
It's time, my daughter, to take off the old robe. And stand, Sandy. Put on your white robe. And know that what you have done on the earth has been written down in heaven. And the angels are singing, Sandy, and saying, well done, good and faithful servant. Take your crown.
I shall wear a crown. I shall wear a crown. When it's all over, yeah. When it's all over, I shall see his face. I believe that I shall see his face. Oh God, when it's all over, oh, when it's all over, I'm going to put on my robe and tell the story how I made it over. I'm going to put on my robe and tell with the angels as they bow down and cry, holy, 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 holy. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell my story, how I made it, how I made it, how I made it over. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm going to put on my robe. Ain't nothing about this easy. Said ain't nothing about this easy. But I made it, but I made it, but I made it over. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna put on my robe, and I'm gonna tell my story, how I made it over. Whoa, yeah. Said I'm gonna sing with the angels. Holy, 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 holy. Yeah. I'm going to put on my robe, yeah. How I made it over. Ooh, soon as yeah. Soon as I get home. Ooh, so much joy up there soon as soon as I get home. I'm gonna sing with the angels as soon as I get home. Come on, let's show 'em what we do when we get to glory. And I'm gonna tell my story. They may not have liked me down on earth. Hey, they may have talked about me on earth. Hey, as soon as I get home, oh, yeah. Soon as I get home, and tell, ooh, oh, soon as I, yeah, oh, soon as I get home, oh, nothing like the love of God. He's gonna wrap his arms around me. Yeah, oh, yeah, ooh. Soon as I get home. Said I'm gonna put on my robe, and I'm gonna tell the story. I will understand it better by and by. Soon as I get home.
Did you all understand the lyrics to that song? As soon as I get home, I'm going to put on my robe and tell the story of how I made it over. While I knew that this would not be the easiest thing that I've ever done, I didn't realize that it would be something that would actually take my breath away. Sandy was not just a community leader. She wasn't just the executive director of the Carl Maxey Center or the founder and editor of The Black Lens. She was a mother. She was a sister. She was a daughter. And she was a friend. To me, that list goes a little bit longer. Sandy was a mentor to me. I have to tell you all because I only tell the truth. I tried to leave Spokane several times. And some of you in the audience know because I've told you. I tried to leave Spokane. I put my house up on the market at one point. I was getting out of here. And Sandy is the reason. And I don't know if she was working with God at the time. I don't know what happened. But Sandy is the reason that I am still here in this community. And I just can't thank her enough or her family enough for allowing her to make such a huge difference in this community and in my heart. A huge difference in my heart. We'd like to hear from a few folks who are going to keep their comments at 3 minutes. Now we have a little Sandman backstage that will help usher you off if you take too long. But we're going to ask that you come and share your thoughts and your feelings and share with the rest of the room a bit about your personal relationship with Sandy. First, we are going to hear from our City Council President, Mr. Brian Beggs. So Brian, if you could start making your way up. And then secondly, we will hear from Lisa Brown, who is also one of our beloved elected officials and the Director of the Department of Commerce. Thank you.
I first met Sandy when I was the chief catalyst at the Center for Justice. And we had different talents and we came from different corners of the city, but we had one thing in common. We were trying to create more of a beloved community in Spokane. A community that was based on justice and a community that would not tolerate racism or poverty. And what I learned from Sandy, as her example, is that she was a fearless speaker of truth. A fearless speaker of truth. And whether it was talking to you as a friend or as an elected leader or anybody else, she had to speak the truth, however inconvenient, however uncomfortable. She spoke it. But unlike some truth tellers, and there are plenty of you out there, because I've heard from you, she had radical empathy as well. What drove her was her empathy and her love for her community. And she defined her community very granularly. It was her block, the people on her block, the people on her street, the people in her neighborhood. And she was committed to their improvement and their betterment, and she cared with them. But as some of you know who are doing this work for the beloved community and who are speaking truth, it gets a little bit lonely to speak the truth. And it's a little heartbreaking to be empathetic and feel all that pain. But Sandy soldiered on, and she did that for all the years that I've been in Spokane, decades. And she was an example to me. And although suddenly she's gone out of our life, she's not really gone. And I would just leave you this, that she inspired me, and I know she inspired you. That she is with us, and because she is with us, we'll be a little more tenacious in telling the truth. We'll be a little more courageous in moving forward against the odds. And most of all, we'll be a lot more loving to everyone around us. Because in Spokane, we all belong. Thank you.
I'm so grateful to the Carl Maxey Center Board and to the loved ones of Sandy to be on this stage celebrating her. I think Keantha knows the problem is I used to teach at Eastern in the Women and Gender Studies program and Gonzaga Political Action, and I can talk for 50 minutes, but I got 3, so here we go. The people of Spokane and Washington State have lost a transformational leader, a skillful, effective activist, an exceptional intellect and writer, and a beautiful Black woman. Each time I met with Sandy, and I admit to a little trepidation, especially the first few times, because, you know, she would give me the look. You know the look. The, are you for real look? The, are you wasting my precious time look? But each time it was so rewarding. I was coached, I was quizzed, I was challenged, yet we also always laughed, bragged about our children, and I felt part of the conspiracy that Tony mentioned, and that she described in one of her columns as dancing the dance with mainstream Spokane. I never left discouraged. I always left inspired to action. It was a mind, conscience, heart, and soul experience. It was gratifying to work with her in a professional capacity at the state level, connecting her wisdom to the newly created State Office of Equity, her vision and her work helping us recreate government that dismantles rather than reinforces racism and other unjust policies and practices. This isn't a class, but if there is an assignment if you choose to accept it. Activism is simply acting on behalf of your passion. You can do that. I'm sure Sandy would want me to encourage you to check your voter registration at Vicki Dalton's office and vote. And go online and read issues of Black Lens. Drink deep from the well of the authors she quotes: Audre Lorde, James Baldwin, Bell Hooks. I particularly loved the upbeat issue, February 2020. She features on the front page the swearing in of Council Member Betsy Wilkerson, school board members, Jarl Haynes, Jenny Slagle, Nikki Lockwood. Then there are the columns, Keantha Duncan, Curtis Hampton, Pastor Walter Kendricks, the Black Prisoners Caucus of Airway Heights. She had Black CEOs and small businessmen together, reformers and radicals, poets and prophets side by side on those pages. We will miss her so much. I'm going to close with a poem by the 23rd Poet Laureate of the United States, Joy Harjo of the Muskogee Nation. Without. The world will keep trudging through time without us when we lift from the story contest to fly home. We will be as falling stars to those watching from the edge of grief and heartbreak. Maybe then we will see the design of the two-minded creature and know why half the world fights righteously for greedy masters, and the other half is nailing it all back together. Through the smoke of cooking fires, lovers' trysts, and endless human industry, maybe then, beloved rascal, we will find each other again in the timeless weave of breathing. We will sit under the trees in the shadow of earth's sorrows, watch hyenas drink rain, and laugh.
Thank you to Council President Breanne Beggs and Lisa Brown. At this time, we are going to have a musical offering by Alethea Dumas. Those of you who know Alethea, she sings all over this city, born and raised in Spokane, and she was always there to answer the call for Sandy when Sandy needed her to step in. So please clap your hands as we welcome to the stage Alethea Dumas.
When my way groweth drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand, lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me on. Precious Lord, take my hand and lead me on. Let me stand. I am tired. I am weak, and I am worn through the storm, through the night. Lead me to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home.
Love you, Alethea. One of the things that Sandy did for me personally was she gave me a list. And the list was folks to call when I need to make a call. So there were some folks who were on a list that also said, do not call. And then there were a group of folks that were on a list that was call in case of emergency. Our next speakers and presenters were on that list of call in case of emergency. That means that Sandy's respect for them went beyond what most of us would ever know or experience, and she trusted them completely. And so please welcome to the stage Attorney Dennis Cronin and his wife, Teresa Cronin.
Good evening. Dennis and I are very honored to be here this evening to join with you in joy and celebration of the life of our dear friend, Sandy Williams. Sandy was our storyteller. Sandy was fierce, and Sandy was courageous. And Sandy is, because Sandy's legacy is in the people that you see within this room, the people that are joining us online, in the faces of the children, in the faces of our friends, because Sandy, in all that she did, created a place for us to belong. When Sandy told a story, she wasn't telling a Sandy story. Sandy was telling our stories. And because of that, we learned to trust her, and we learned to trust ourselves. So when it came time for Sandy a year ago to start to concentrate really and focus on her priorities, little did we know that she was really preparing us for today. But as she jumped out of that plane, she made a promise that said, I am going to do what is important to me and to my family and to prioritize those needs of my community. And that's what she did. And so when it came time to celebrate the grand opening of the Carl Maxey Center, Dennis and I contacted our very dear friend, Jacob Johns, whom many of you know as one of our artists that shares our stories through his paintings. Just as he had done with the portrait of Carl in celebration of the 100th anniversary of the Spokane chapter of the NAACP, we asked him if he would please provide his artistry in portrait of our friend Sandy. Not as a gift to Sandy, we said, because we all know how Sandy did not like personal accolades and was a very humble person, and also was not very pleased if you took her picture without her permission. So with a great deal of trepidation, and Jacob just immediately responded yes. But with a great deal of trepidation, I called on Betsy and I said, hey, Betsy, kind of need your help to kind of smooth the waters, because Sandy is not going to want to accept a gift for herself, but we want to make sure that she understands that this gift is for all of us in honor of Sandy's accomplishments, of her visionary work to bring forth the Carl Maxey Center.
Okay, just slide me up a little bit. Then you're going to unveil it when I come in.
Okay.
Stop. Well, welcome to you all of this vibrant community. To make sure that I'm accurate, I wrote a few thoughts out. But before I begin, Mother Williams, Rick, Renika, family, my very sincere condolences. Carl Maxey and Sandra Williams, two leaders, courageous bookends to our struggles for civil rights and equity for all members of our Spokane community. And now, going forward, we have at least two questions to answer after her and Carl's laboring good works these past 30 years. First, who is willing to carry the struggle forward in word and action beyond mere optics, as Sandy would say? Second, who will attempt to fill Sandra Williams' shoes? Over to the picture. As you reflect on these questions and an answer, I commend to you this picture of the two bookends. I'm not done. Stop it. No. Between those two bookends is a diverse and active history of struggle in this community. In answering these two questions, we realize the struggle continues. We should be lifting every heart from our and for our community, and in word and deed, let liberty and equity proceed. Carl Maxey, my dear friend, sister, Sandra Williams. Thank you.
The microphone disappeared. There are a few other people who are also on the list of break in case of emergency. One is someone who I think you all will recognize. He is the editor of our Spokesman Review, Mr. Rob Curley. So make your way to the stage, Mr. Curley. And the second is one of the most generous people that I have ever met, who also understood, respected, and supported Sandy's work. Sharon Smith from the Smith Barbieri Progressive Fund. Are you in the building? Okay. So we're going to have words by Rob Curley. Rob is going to share with you a little bit about exactly how the collaboration between the Spokesman Review and the Black Lens came about, and the importance of that. For those of you who don't know, this newspaper in this city was groundbreaking in doing that collaboration. That has never been done in any city ever, where the mainstream newspaper and the Black newspaper came together to provide news to communities of color and to communities at large. So please welcome Mr. Rob Curley.
I'm always surprised when I get asked to talk because I have a stutter and a lisp, and I have really terrible hair. One of the things I realized early on about Sandy was that fairness mattered. Even when she was in high school, she understood this. I don't know if you've heard this story, but when she was at Cheney High School, she wanted to be in shop, but they wouldn't let women be in shop. So she wrote a letter to her principal explaining why that was stupid. He agreed. She became the first woman in shop in Cheney. So when you think about that story, what really matters is she's young, and she's just realized her words can make a change. That's powerful, right? So fast forward to 2015. She decides to start a newspaper. I don't know if you've heard, but we're struggling for the black community. And when I moved here, I thought, wow, I don't know that this is the whitest city I've ever lived in, but it's close. So I'm thinking, I really have to meet her, you know? I remember when I first did, I was kind of starstruck. It was like I'd met my favorite baseball player. And I said, you know, this might not be the smartest thing I've ever said to anybody, but I'm often told I'm crazy. And I think I love you because you may be crazier than me. And she laughed, and I remember thinking, this is going to be okay. So we became friends. And when the Black Lives Matter protest happened, I called her, and I said, I need your help. We need your voice in our paper. And not just a story, and not for us. We need the black lens to be in our paper. And she wrote all these amazing stories. And once again, just like when she was in high school, I could see these words matter. And it was powerful. So shortly after that, a grant that Sandy and I had been working on for a while, which was interesting. It was to hire a racial and social equity reporter in Spokane, Washington, who would report to both the editor of the daily newspaper and the editor of the black newspaper. And we got it. Trust me, no one was more surprised than Sandy. And when I got to see her manage in that role, I really got to see what she was really capable of. And I got to see it up close and what her focus was like, and how Sandy had this really cool way of not suffering fools. And I got to see why her words mattered to me again. It's not just about the amount of words that you choose to share, it's the words that you choose to share. She was always over quality over quantity. I've never heard a person say 10 words that you go, wow, damn, I've lost. So early last week, I get a call that I couldn't believe I got. And I didn't know how to handle it. So I kept it to myself. Because I didn't get that call as the editor of the newspaper. I got that call because I was her friend. So I just kept it to myself. And when I finally told someone, they said, what are we going to do? And I said, well, let me tell you what we're not going to do. We're not going to let the black lens die. So you see, Sandy's words really packed a punch, but it's her legacy that's inspiring. So let's work together and keep the black lens, okay? I mean, I could never in a million years be the editor of the black lens, but what I could do is make sure that nothing stupid happens to the black lens, you know? So, because this goes back to that there's a lot of unfairness in the world, and Sandy's mission's not done, so let's keep the black lens alive, okay? I miss you, Sandy.
Now, you all heard me mention that he was her friend. not just the editor of the newspaper, but he was her friend. And a friend is someone who keeps your dream alive when you are long gone. A friend remembers your words and understands your impact and continues your work when you are gone. We have something very special for you also coming up. But before we bring our next person to the stage, I want to know, do you all know about those bracelets that say WWJD? The What Would Jesus Do bracelets? All right. Well, tonight, I want to imagine that we have bracelets on our arms, but those bracelets say WWSD. What would Sandy do? What Sandy has done is made sure that no place in this city, in this region, and in this state are Black people ever forgotten. That is one of the things that Sandy would do. Sandy also made sure that when she spoke about Black people, it wasn't just about the struggle of Black people, but it was also about the triumph of Black people. That's what Sandy would do. One of the things that Sandy would often say, and I would just chuckle when she said it, this is my impersonation of Sandy too. I don't know. I mean, I just wanted black, blackity black. And she meant that. And so when we think about how we will move forward, think about Sandy's words. When you think about how you will move forward after this day, because this community will feel the impact of her death for so long, just think, what would Sandy do? And what would Sandy say? At this time, I'd like to call to the stage someone who I know is going to do something really special for your souls if you watch, if you listen, and if you allow yourself to feel. Miss Mona Martin is coming to the stage, and she has a very special presentation for us. Please welcome Mona.
Can you only imagine? Can you imagine just standing before the King? Oh, I can only imagine what it would be like when I walk by your side. I could only imagine what my eyes will see when your face is before me. I can only imagine. I could only imagine to be surrounded by your glory. What will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in all of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? To my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak it all? I could only imagine. Yeah, I could only imagine. I could only imagine when that day comes and I find myself standing in the sun. I could only imagine when all I will do
stop the music yet. Keep the music going. Huh?
No, 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 no. No, no, no. Come on up, Curtis. I told you that was going to do something for your soul if you watched and if you let it. Now we are going to hear from a few of the board members of the Carl Maxey Center. So first on our list, he thought he was going to do this, but he wasn't, is Mr. Curtis Hampton.
Hello, everyone. My name's Curtis Hampton. You know, they never let me have any fun. I just wanted to try to do that. I was even trying to put on a tutu backstage, but didn't fit. Just to get started, you know, Sandy, as we all know, has brought a lot to all of us. When I found out last night I was going to be a part of this program, the thing that went through my mind is I like to label things. And with Sandy, it's difficult to label her. So I came up with a name, and I want to know if you guys are okay with that. The name that I came up with for her is, she's my social justice warrior. What do you guys think of that? And you know, when you think of social justice warrior, you think about all the things that we've talked about tonight, the presenters before me have talked about, that she does. And looking out here in the audience, Sandy has a lot of friends. And first of all, I want to thank all of you for being here on a Tuesday night for such a wonderful occasion to celebrate our Spokane hero, I guess I'll call her, our social justice warrior. But you know, before I get started, I want you guys to join me in thanking Miss Williams, Mr. Williams, for sharing Sandy with us for 61 years. Because in our reality, if it wasn't for the love of Mr. and Mrs. Williams, we wouldn't have Sandy Williams. We would not have the Carl Maxey Center. We would not have SCAR. We wouldn't have any of those things, and we wouldn't be here either, because obviously we wouldn't know who Sandy was, right? Just give you a little bit about me. I've known Sandy for a few years. In fact, the first time that I think I remember is a long time ago. She was approximately 9, and that's a true story, I think, from my memory. And Rick was approximately 10. And I was, I think, 16 or 17 years old. And you know, when you're 16 or 17, I had my license, you're pretty grown at that time, or so you think. So being that I've known them since the early 70s, from what I recall, of course, I met them during a family occasion where there's always food involved. And from what I remember also, Mr. Williams, at the time, I saw him as a war hero, and he had brought his lovely wife, Wilhelmina, to her hometown, and Wilhelmina and I are from the same hometown, which is Greenwood, South Carolina. I know all of you have heard of Greenwood, South Carolina. Show of hands who've heard of that before. That's better than I thought. But you know, to fast forward for a little bit, I actually ended up joining the Air Force, and I thought I was going to Washington, D.C. Then I found out I was going to this place called Spokane. And of course, I was devastated. and you know, when I got here, it didn't look the same as South Carolina. I was probably one of the darkest people I saw for days. But you know, My mom always say that, I don't always agree with her, but you know, mom is mom. God makes no mistakes. So what happened with that tragic event, my path crossed again with the Williams. And that's because I didn't realize it at the time, but Mr. Williams and the Williams family was stationed here in Spokane at the time. And so, because we were from the same hometown, I had to go hang out with these people. And I gotta tell you, it was a life-changing event. However, I didn't know it at the time. And the day that I went over to their housing, they were in Cheney, in the military housing, and there were these two little kids. I remember them being a little dusty at the time, but you know, that's my memory again. And so it was Sandy and Rick. And you know, when I think back about that time, it goes to show you, you never know who you're gonna meet on this journey, this road journey that we're all on, that they call life. Because the Williams family, I wish all of us had neighbors like the Williams, because if we did, we'd be a much better country now. We would not be having the conversations that we so often have. We wouldn't need people like Sandy Williams to do what she does with this social justice warrior thing. We would not need that because people were like this family. When I grew up, I didn't know too many families like this. So when I found out who they were, I obviously definitely gravitated to that family. And so if I could be half the man that Mr. Williams was, I'd be in a good place. And you know, the Williams have had an impact on so many of us. And for me, for instance, I would not still be in Spokane if it hadn't been for Mr. Williams. He was like a second father to me. He was a mentor to me. He kept me out of trouble and tried to keep me on the right track. It took me a while to figure it out. But my point is, they are one fantastic family. I spent approximately 26 years, fast forward again, I spent approximately 26 years in the aerospace industry, and I retired in 2017. And when I retired, my first thought was, you know, I was like the dog that's been chasing the car for 26 years. Okay, I caught the car, now what? Didn't know what to do with the car. It certainly was not to get involved in social justice work. But as I got to know Sandy more, and that barbecue thing that we hear us talk about, that's how it all started. And at the time, I just thought, okay, because again, I had so much respect for Mr. Williams, and as they say, the fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. So I thought, okay, I'll follow her. So she comes along with this dream, this ragged building on 5th Avenue, and I thought, that's gonna be some work. And it was. But you know, again, if you trust someone, you respect someone, and they get on that hill and they say, follow me, Sandy is that person that I was willing to follow because I trusted and believed in her dream. When I talk about social justice warrior, I want all of you to start thinking about that as well, because you are here today because you trust and you respect her. That barbecue that night in Mrs. Williams' yard was monumental to me because that food not only nourished my body, but the conversation also nourished my soul. Since then, I've been very active, not getting paid, of course, but it's very fulfilling, the things that I'm trying to do. And I want all of you, those of you that are here tonight, those of you that are listening to me tonight, you care about Sandy, I want you to cry. I want it to hurt. But when it's done, when you're done crying, when you're done hurting, put those tears to work. Put those tears to work and become a social justice warrior. I want to ask you to join the army of Sandy Williams. Can I get a show of hands who's going to join me in this fight? Come on, y'all, give me some more hands. And what that means, it does not mean forgetting about it tomorrow. I want you to help Sandy finish her dream. You know, if people ask you, well, how you doing? Are you sad? Absolutely, we're all sad. I mean, you're sad. You lose your hero, your friend, whatever else she was to you guys. You lost that. But if you really care about her, you care about what she believed in, you will take up that baton and start working it. Help her continue her dream. Can you guys do that for us? I know that we have some city officials in the audience, but I want you to also become a member of Sandy's army and help us fight this fight that we all know we need to fight. I just want to say thank you for your time, and I want to say thank you for joining the Army of Sandy for Social Justice Warriors.
You see, we let him go a little longer than 3 minutes because he's known Sandy since she was 10. That's the only reason. Okay, so we are nearing the end of our program, but there are a few other things that we'd like to have you experience prior to ending. There are a few other people who love Sandy and want to share their love for her. We are going to hear from Mr. Deacon Band from Band Construction Company. Mr. Deacon, are you here? All right, he's coming up to the front. We have time. We're also going to hear from Curtis Robinson, former president of the NAACP, and Miss Mary Stamp, the editor of The Fig Tree. But prior to doing that, we're going to hear from one more voice, someone who I know personally, and know she personally had a relationship with both Sandy and Pat. And so we are going to ask Ms. Sylvia Brown, who is also a member of the Carl Maxey Center Board, to come and share words and acknowledge Mrs. Patricia Hicks as well. Thank you.
So as we continue to learn all about Sandy, what she has done in the city, in the state, in our community, outside of Sandy's mother, Miss Mama Wilhelmina, and Renika, and Rick, and the rest of her family, she shared a special space, and that was with Pat. So, as you all know, Pat was with Sandy, and that always brings me comfort of that thought, because it helps me to know that Sandy wasn't by herself, and she was with her companion that was been with her since both of their children were very young. That brings me comfort. That Pat brought out in Sandy the things that we hear all about, her brilliance and the work that she's done, but Pat brought something else out of Sandy. And Pat's spirit was adventurous, and she helped Sandy to live the bucket list in her life. Just last year, they went on Sandy's birthday, they went parachuting out of an airplane. And on this trip that they was on, again, Sandy don't take a lot of time for herself. And she was working on the newspaper and all the other many things that she does, but she doesn't take time for herself. And Pat was that person that would remind her, you have to take time for yourself. So they went off on a little trip together, just so Sandy could get some time away. So as we celebrate and honor Sandy, It would not be complete if we did not celebrate Pat. Now, you could see Pat all around the city because Pat would ride her bicycle, and then she upgraded recently, and she had one that was an electric, part electric and part you just pedal manually, and she would be on her bicycle all throughout the city. She had a great concern about ecology, the environment, and she drove around a little smart car. And I saw Pat one day on the freeway in the little smart car. And I honked at her, and I didn't know she had that car. So it was a surprise for me, but it is just that she lived the things that she believed in. And this earth and where we live at was something that she really loved. She also started a drum group, so she loved drumming and started that group. And recently, at the Carl Maxey Center, Pat was holding meetings for AA meetings there. So she wanted to give back in that way and made sure those that had the struggle with alcoholism had a place to come. Had a meeting to go to, and was there to support them. So Pat and Sandy both were great friends of my wife and I, and came to our house often and had dinner. Now, like I said, Pat was kind of that adventurous spirit, but she was also the dancer. So if you put on some music, Pat was going to be dancing, okay? I think recently there was a Spark Central event that was done down in Kendall Yards, and someone had her on video dancing. Matter of fact, Pat and Sandy were dancing together on that video. So as we continue to remember Sandy, let's not forget about Pat Hicks, because she helped complete Sandy. So as we continue to share in this time of grief, but also share in the love and the memories of Sandy and Pat. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name's Deacon. I had the absolute pleasure of being the contractor for the Carl Maxey Center, and meeting Sandy was one of the most fulfilling, rewarding, and kind of enabling experiences that I've ever had. I loved your impression of her where, I don't know. We had a lot of I don't knows when we were building that building. We had a lot of, how are we going to pay for all these issues, these structural problems and everything else? I don't know. Well, she always came up and filled in that I don't know with funding, support, and problem solving from the community. And throughout that process, I just felt, go to Sandy with questions, go to her for support, and she was the ultimate enabler, but with the most even-keeled personality. A lot of things that could have excited her didn't, and was met with, we got this. I don't know how, but we're gonna do it, and we did. I am not sure, I'm having a really hard time with this and how to move forward, but Curtis, thank you for your words, and that we now have been enabled to carry on her dream. We will work through the years, we will work through the money, all those things I don't know, but we will, and we will complete the center one part at a time, and we will think of her every single day. And throughout that project, it will be the most important project that I will ever perform. There is no way to top it. And I can't imagine meeting somebody as special as Sandy. And I thank her for that, and I thank all of you for being here. Thank you.
So, kind of choked up, so I'll try to keep it brief. Grandma Willie and family, condolences, and just don't really kind of seem to get it done. You know, I'm sorry for your loss. And, you know, I really appreciated the bringing up of Patricia. We talked about that in the circles. And, you know, it's really important to continue to lift up those of us that don't really have the mic or the limelight. We're just as important, you know, and I know that Sandy knew that, and Sandy walked that, and Sandy talked that. And so I really appreciate that. I was going to mention it, and thank you, Sylvia, for doing that. One of the things I want to say is that, and I told a couple of people about this, is that, you know, when the NAACP here changed, that, and when it changed because of Sandy. There were two voices that I listened to, and the first one was this one, the Most High. The second one was hers. The reason that the Spokane NAACP is what it is today is because of Sandy Williams. So not only did she do all of the things that she's done, the Carl Maxey Center, the Spokane Community Against Racism, the Black Prisoners Caucus for the first time ever in the history of Washington State happening in Airway Heights. She did all that and so much more, but we have the organization that we have today because of her wisdom and her grace, her commitment to communities of color while she was doing everything else she was doing. So I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that, and it's for myself as a human being. You know, Sandy was without a doubt a mentor to me as a person. As the work that I do, the work that I strive to do, the example that she set. And so, again, another thing that Sandy's responsible for is the Criminal Justice Training Commission and the work that we're doing there. I'm not gonna bring it all out here, but it's critical, vital, important police accountability work. And when it came to what I was asked to do with that and leaning into that, again, two ways, two conversations, this one and Sandy. So, you know, her impact will be felt for a very, 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 very long time to come. And she's absolutely the inspiration for people like us, people like me who continue to lean into work and challenge these limits whenever they come, to challenge the structures that have put us in this position. And most of all, one of the greatest lessons I got from Sandy was to challenge myself, to challenge the in-baked stuff that we kind of have to deal with, the internalized depression and the lateral aggression. Sandy knew about that. And Sandy said, you know what? We've got to move forward anyway. So I thank you, Grandma Willie, and family, for the life of your daughter and the wisdom and the grace and the power that she showed people like us. We have a lot to be thankful for. I don't know if we'll ever really be able to understand how much we have to be thankful for the work that Sandy Williams has done and is set in motion here. But I know that our commitment to keep moving this work forward cannot ever falter. We must continue to do that kind of sacrifice, honor, by continuing to lean into every situation we have. And I don't really know how to close this out, so I'm just going to tell you this. I love Sandy. I love everything that she was about. I know that we can, we will, and we must move forward together. And Sandy Williams set that bar.
Sandy Williams and I shared something of as being women in journalism who collaborated and understood the need for media literacy and responsibility. Sandy was tireless, persistent, a visionary and advocate, as we've talked about. And working with her, we worked for equality, dignity, inclusion, justice, and human rights. We challenged all sorts of forms of bias. I know how much work it took for her to put together stories, photos, layouts, ads, and finances, and deliver the newspapers and build relationships to build the small newspaper that is big in our hearts. She began believing that mainstream media news on diverse communities was inadequate, and so she started the Black Lens. She wanted to cover the positive stories to counter the negative narrow news that stereotypes Blacks. Her idea was to uplift the accomplishments of Blacks in Spokane. By the first issue, that changed, as you know. She felt that the Spokane Police Department use of force report had not been covered accurately. Sandy said the Black community needs to know what is happening. Someone needs to speak up. The community needs a voice. And later she repeated some of those ideas on media in a 2016 panel on media literacy. And Sandy said, media underreport positive news and focus on negative news of Blacks. They use problems to frame the views of Blacks. They miss stories about Black people's lives and experiences. And Sandy said, repeated exposure to unbalanced reporting reinforces cultural biases and creates a hostile environment. Building credibility with the Black Lose and partnering with Rob Curley, she has influenced the Spokesman Review and come onto the mainstream pages. In a 2019 speech to Spokane's NAACP, she said, people of color need strategies to fight racism because there are strategies to keep up the racial disparities that mean people of color have the lowest life expectancy in Spokane. Many of you know Sandy was a word wonk. She would go to Merriam-Webster. So one time she looked up the word war and found it meant a state of hostility, conflict, and antagonism. And she went on from there. She said, in this country, many are at war with people who do not look, act, believe, love, or pray like them. And she said, we need to understand strategies behind the conflicts that keep us down. When a Spokane jury acquitted the person who shot William Poindexter in the back, she didn't want her daughter to feel disheartened or feel that there was nothing anyone could do. Sandy said, I decided that would not be my legacy for my child. So Sandy was willing to do the lonely work of being visible and speaking out to give a voice to people of color and work to overcome racism. She wanted people to understand the strategies of those who promote racism, build fear about violence, imply that there aren't enough resources, assassinate someone's character, and divide people to conquer. So Sandy gathered folks to start the Karl Maxey Center to challenge those strategies and to teach people about those strategies in a neighborhood gathering place, a cultural educational center, and a place where people could have resources to improve their lives. Sandy said, "We seek to uplift and empower and transform our community to design solutions that address challenges and bring healing to the trauma of racism." We need her voice and vision. We need it to continue. Let's partner to keep her legacy alive with the Black Lens and the Karl Maxey Center. And this is my pitch, because Sandy spoke at our benefit event, and so I'll give a pitch: donate to them.
As I mentioned, we're just about at the end of our program, but there are some special things that we don't want to leave without doing. Sandy worked hard for this city. She worked hard for this city. But she did not do that work alone, and without the team of staff that she had at the Karl Maxey Center, devoted staff who worked when no one else was there, when there weren't volunteers, when there was no one else to answer the call. She adored her staff, and she had so much respect for each one of them. So tonight we're going to hear from 3 of her staff members: Brianna, who was the very first staff member at the Karl Maxey Center, Jalecia, and Bobby.
I'm Brianna. I'm the founding, program manager at the Karl Maxey Center, and I was honored to speak to Sandy and work with her for almost 2 years at the Karl Maxey Center. We started before there was a building, and I was working at home before COVID started, and I just remember all of the hard work that she put in and all of the hard work that she inspired me to do within the community. Sandy was someone that I knew I wanted to work for before I graduated. And I called her up and asked her, what classes should I take so that I can work for you? And those of you who know her probably could guess what classes she would have liked me to take. She said it didn't matter as long as there were courses in African American studies. I'm honored to tell her thank you for being my mentor, and I'm so sad that she's not here to be the force for Spokane that she was. And her legacy is not over. It's up to us to at least try to fill a small portion of her shoes. Thank you.
I'm just going to say quickly that Sandy had a way of pushing people past their own boundaries and past their own limits, and I think that's exampled here today, that I don't think she could have paid the 3 of us to do this otherwise. So it's been an honor, really. Thank you.
And from the staff at the Karl Maxey Center, as a team, we are honored to continue the legacy of Sandy through our work and our dedication to the Spokane community. We love you, Sandy, and we love your presence, and you will truly be missed. Thank you.
After today's event, please make sure that you all check on the staff of the Carl Maxey Center. Don't forget about them after today. Send them flowers, send them lunch, send them, treats, a snack, something to let them know that this community understands the weight of the work that they are carrying and that we support them. As Grandma Willie makes her way to the stage, if you knew Sandy, you knew her mama. There was nothing other than Renika that Sandy loved more than Grandma Willie. Nothing. She took her responsibility of being a daughter really seriously. She told me personally, I'm gonna be there till my mom is gone. Because nothing was more important than her mom to her. So Grandma Willie is going to say words, and once she has finished, we have a final song and video for you. Thank you all for your patience in sitting through this service. We appreciate that. Grandma Willie, come on up.
Good evening. For those who do not know, I do have a name. I'm not just Grandma Willie, Mama, or whatever. My name is Wilhelmina Smith Williams, Sandy's mother. On behalf of the family, I want to thank everyone that is here today and on the air, wherever, for everyone that loved my daughter. And I want to thank everyone for all the expressions of love that has been shown to her. It's been one thing after another, but it's all appreciated. I'm not a professional speaker or writer, but the Lord blessed me with two of them, actually three. Her daughter is down there, but with Sandy and Rick. So if I don't get through with this short speech, Rick will take over. Okay. So she could speak of most topics off the top of her head, but I have to write down my thoughts and change them around a couple of times. But he said, please don't speak long. So I had to take a lot of things I wanted to say out. He said that we will save that for the next time. It's been over a week since we lost Sandy. That's talking about time. Time is slow for those who are waiting, too swift for those who fear, too long for those who grieve, too short for those who rejoice. But for those who love, time is eternity. It's hard for me to know how I'm going to continue on doing all the day things that we did together. We would watch movies, sleep together. They let the movies put us to sleep. Watch movies, soaps, Gonzaga basketball games together, and also going to the community events. When you saw her, there were so many times you saw me too. She always made people feel welcome and supported her in the work that she was doing. She was tireless. She worked before she got up. Her best thoughts was when she wake up in the morning and would go to bed. So that's when she had the greatest thoughts. So she would do it, and eventually she would come upstairs and we would talk and we would get started for the things of the day. But many times she had to go to the Carl Maxey Center before she had anything else. They would call her, and she would take off. I have to go. I had to go for a meeting. So, okay, do that. Sandy wanted people to love, respect, and hear each other. You know, it said, love your neighbor as yourself. She didn't want you to stop with just your neighbor. She wanted you to love everyone. There's more things about us if we take the time to listen and talk to them than just being a neighbor. And as it was said, that people were bringing in so many flowers. I'm a flower person. I work in the garden, the yard, what have you. But I wanted the flowers to have the attention, the care, and appreciation. So after my space at home became crowded and the flowers couldn't get a place to sit, we took them to, left them at the KREM Center, and then they started distributing them to nursing homes or wherever someone needed cheering up a bit. So I just want to thank everyone here or on the air or wherever that you see or think about Sandy. She did the best she could for everyone, and I will continue what I have, and the family, we will keep it going. So thank you, and help keep the KREM Center by making your donation there, because we still have more part. We do have a small opening that is special compared to where that building started from. She asked me one day Mom, come go with me, I want to show you something. She showed me this broke down, dilapidated building. That's what I saw. I don't have the vision. I'm not a person that look for or like antiques. I want it fresh, new, now. So we walked through this building, all I could see was dirt. But now it has changed. It's much different now. And they put in the best quality of things now. And thank you, and let's keep it going. We have to get the library and the coffee shop and other business rooms and things going. So help us. Help us keep it going. I thank you.
As we prepare to close, I'd like to say personally thank you to everybody. Let me see your faces. Y'all know I like to see folks' faces. Hello. Thank you for each one of you who took time out of your already busy schedule, work, all the other stuff that we all do, to come and be a part of this choir today for Sandy. All of you loved her and she loved you. So thank you very much. As we listen to our final selection, there is a brief video that we were sent courtesy of Hamilton Studios, of Sandy speaking, and it's a special message to you, Renika, believe it or not. And so we would like for you all to enjoy our final selection and then take a moment to hear from Sandy herself.
Sandy was a lot of our mentors. One thing about Sandy and a few more leaders in this community is they believe in raising up leaders. And I remember distinctly having a conversation with Miss Betsy and Miss Sandy. And they were like, we gotta raise y'all up. Well, y'all gotta step up. We getting tired. Never in a million years would I think that, I mean, she was serious. She was like really serious. We had to prepare. I just want to be a kid, you know? But I do want to touch on the reason why we did the skit earlier. I think it's very important for us to understand God's love. The love of God. So I didn't come out here dressed in a dress, and I didn't come out here dressed in a, you know, when we did the skit, I dressed that way because that's how we always saw Sandy. I don't think I've ever seen her without a collared flannel on. I don't think I've ever seen her without that. And that's how I want to remember her. So I want to leave this with y'all today. That just like they just said, that Sandy was about love. And we shouldn't judge anybody. Because you never know. Nobody in here is God. You can't play God. He's almighty. So I want to leave you with that today as we bring this last selection, because this last selection is a change gonna come, and you know why we're singing it. We're singing it because she was a social justice warrior. And as hard as it is for us, we got work to do. We got work to do.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. See, I go to the movies and I go downtown, somebody keep telling me, don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Yeah, yeah. Then I go to my brother and I say, brother, help me please.
Help me please, yeah.
And then he winds up knocking me down.
Oh, back down,
back down,
back down on my knees. Ooh, there were times when I thought I wouldn't last for too long, but now I see I'm able to carry on. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Yeah, yeah. Then I go to my brother, and I say, brother,
help me please.
Help me please, yeah.
And then he winds up knocking me down.
Oh, back down,
back down,
back down on my knees. Whoa, wow. There were times when I thought, oh, I wouldn't last for too long. Yeah, but now I see I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come.
Change gon' come.
A change gon' come.
Change gon' come.
A change gonna come.
A change gonna come.
A change gonna come.
A change gonna come.
Change gon' come.
Change gonna 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 come.
You're the change.
You're the change.
You're the change.
You're the change.
Be the change.
Be the change.
Change gon' come.
Change gonna come.
Change gon' come.
A change gonna come.
Change gon' come.
A change gonna come. We are the change.
You are the change.
We 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 are the change. We are the change. We are the change. We are the change. A change gon' come.
A change gon' come.
Change gon' come.
Yeah.
Change gonna come.
Be the change.
Be that change.
Be the change.
Be that change.
Be the change.
Be that change.
Be the change. A change gonna come.
Change gon' come.
Change gonna come.
Change gon' come.
Be the change.
Be that change. Yeah, yeah. We are the change. We are the change. We are the change. Be that change. Be that change. Yeah.
Change gon' come.
Change gonna 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 come.
Be the change. Be the change. Be the change. Be the change.
Change gonna come. Change gonna come. Change gonna come. Change gonna come. Be the change. Be the change. Be the change. Be the
The change gon' come.
Change gonna come.
The change gon' come.
Change gonna come.
The change gonna come.
Change gonna come.
The change gonna come.
Change gonna come.
Be that change.
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 Yeah, no.
Change gonna come.
Change gon' come.
Change gonna come.
Change gonna come.
Change gonna come.
Change gonna come.
Yeah.
We invite y'all to be the change today. Don't leave here the same way you came.
I think if I was meeting somebody for the first time, the thing that I would most say about myself is I'm a storyteller. In West Africa, there's a term that's called a griot. And a griot is a storyteller or a poet or a musician that sort of keeps track of the oral history for the community. And I feel like that's who I've always been. I talk about who we are as a people, African American people, what our journey has been, what our truth has been. And no matter what I've been doing, whether it's been activism or social justice work or now the newspaper, I've always been telling stories about what our journey has been and what our path has been and what our struggles have been. Yeah, storytelling is huge. I think the power of storytelling is, so like when you go in and you do workshops and stuff and you tell people what they're not supposed to do and how they're not supposed to, like you're not supposed to be racist and you're not supposed to be discriminatory, I think that targets the left brain, which is a really analytical part of the brain, and people shut down and they get really defensive about that. But when you tell stories, that speaks to the right side of the brain. That's the creative part, that's the empathetic part, that's the part of the brain that connects with people. And so I think the power in storytelling is that we connect with people's hearts. And I've learned over the years that nobody changes until their heart changes. And so you can give them all the information, you can give them all the justifications, but until their heart gets it, till it hits here, doesn't really matter. And so stories go there. When I do trainings, I'm a storyteller. I spend most of my time just telling stories because I've just found that that's the most powerful way for people to hear what you're trying to say. And when they hear what you're trying to say, then that's the first step towards change happening. So that's why I do it. And I also think traditional cultures have always been storytelling cultures. There's something fundamental about how we communicate with each other. When we have the ability to communicate with each other through stories, I think we're able to hear it better. That's what I think. So do I see myself as a community leader? Not really. I see myself as someone who notices things that need to be done, work that needs to be done, and people that need to be called out or held accountable, or issues that need to be addressed. So it's like stuff that needs to happen. So, and I just have always been the kind of person that just sees it, notices it, and acts on it. I think it's important. I think the role
of doing is important. And so if that makes me a leader, I'm proud of that. I feel good about that. And if that inspires other people to do that too, then that makes me happy. You know what I'm the absolute most proud of in my life is that in a country that tends to do everything that it can to put roadblocks in front of women, and in particular women of color, as a mom, I have raised a daughter who is proud, who is smart and capable, and who is achieving in a country that doesn't necessarily see that as possible for her. So I'm huge. I think that's the thing that I'm the most proud of, that I've been able to accomplish that. I'm proud that she has in turn turned around and seen me as somebody to be proud of. That's big. I don't think it gets better than that for a mom to have her daughter be proud of her.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.